Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I am Bobby Puckett, the AFW2 Community Programs Manager. So as a lot of you know, the whole mission of community programs here at AFW2 is to search for opportunities and organizations across this great nation that introduce you guys to them so you guys can get plugged in with them in your own communities and find out what's available to you guys. Today is a really exciting day. We are joined by Camp Valor Outdoors. We have John Schwint with us. We have Denise Loring. We have Dan Dunsman and Lee Cookshouse. A lot of you may recognize Lee. She was one of our AFW2 warriors that kicked butt in warrior games for us for a couple of years. So I hope you enjoyed today's Zoom. And I'm going to kick it over to John Schwint so he can tell us a little bit about, a little bit about himself and how he came to create Camp Valor Outdoors.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity, Bobby. Again, I'm John Schwint. I'm a retired Marine, spent 23 years on active duty. I started with the Wounded Warrior program on the Marine Corps side as the shooting coach for the Marine Corps team from 2010 to 2015. And seeing the interactions of adaptive sports and some of the limitations that it has, it just got me thinking that I need to do more. I saw the positive impacts that the adaptive sports was having on all of our warriors. And, privately, I was losing a lot of buddies to suicide. So as much as we love the adaptive sports, it's limiting, right? We get together 2, 3, 4, 5 times a year, but we'd like to get some more interaction. So in 2013, we launched Camp Valor Outdoors to connect warriors in the outdoors, adaptive sports, hunting, fishing, shooting, archery, four-wheeling, or just sitting around a campfire. And so that was the premise on why we started it. We are a nonprofit, no payroll, all volunteers. And we did that for several years from 2013 to about 2015. And as a Marine, I was a competitive shooter. Went to nationals, did all the shooting sports that the Marine Corps had to offer. And I shot with Dan Dunsman. Dan had gotten out of the Marine Corps. He gave me a call checking in, and he asked me about the shooting sports and a competitive shooting program. But that's a whole lot of work. And, as a small nonprofit, I didn't see it doable unless somebody of Dan's stature, a national champion shooter, Marine Corps team, he said, well, I'm all in, let's launch it. And so shortly thereafter, we connected with Denise. Denise Loring is also a competitive shooter, shot for the AMU team. She also retired from the Army. So Denise is our Chief Operations Officer out of Virginia. And then Dan is our shooting sports director, also out of Virginia. And so we work remotely, currently working in about 20 different states doing what we do, providing these opportunities for wounded, ill, and injured veterans to compete, get in the outdoors, and get that camaraderie and brotherhood again. So that was kind of the launch of the shooting sports at that point. And now here we are in 2021, 7 years later into it, and we continue to make a difference.
That sounds awesome, John. Thank you. Hey, Denise, can you give us a little bit about who you are and what you do and how you got involved in Camp Valor Outdoors?
Sure. I spent 30 years in the Army, and I did shoot for the Army Marksmanship Unit for 2 tours, and continued to shoot for the Army Reserve when I came from active duty over to the Army Reserve. Finished up in 2014, retired, and I shot for the Virginia State team for service rifle. And Dan Dunsman found me on the firing line at the national championships in 2015. And he said, hey, why don't you come over and help us out at Camp Valor Outdoors? And I didn't really know much about it. It was new to me, brand new. Seeing the guys up there at Camp Perry, I'm like, well, I haven't even been shooting with Virginia for a year. Let me get through nationals. So I got through nationals, and then in September, got together with Dan, and I liked what I heard that they were doing for vets. And I enjoyed my time shooting for the Virginia State team, but when you retire from the military after 30 years, you miss the camaraderie. You miss that connection. and I wasn't getting that really anywhere in my life. So I came over to Camp Valor Outdoors, and John, he is a one-man show. I called him up and I said, okay, who does this? Who does that? He's like, well, I got Dan. Dan runs my competitive shooting program. I'm like, John, buddy, you can't do it by yourself. Let me help. Where can I help? How can I help? So, we've been building our staff. We have been expanding all across the United States. I don't work a lot with the hunting and fishing because I am in Virginia. Dan and I run the competitive shooting program from Northern Virginia, and we have coach competitors spread all over the United States. We're active in 20 states. So if somebody wants to be a competitive shooter or hunt or fish, they just need to connect, and we'll get somebody close to them to come out and plug them into the program and events in some way. So, for me, it was the opportunity to continue to compete in service rifle, but it's also gives me the ability to give back. John sets up competitive shooting, so you have a seasoned shooter with a new shooter. And it's just a lot of fun for us. We get to share our knowledge and bring them up through the competition. We start everything at the local level. We'll have a local camp, clinic, and then they'll compete locally. And then if they want to shoot at higher levels, we'll take them. We'll take them all the way up to the national championships, as Lee can attest. She has just been an inspiration for other competitive shooters, for other veterans, and especially for women veterans. We can point to her and say, she did it. She got out there. She went to the clinic at Camp Butner, and she continued to compete with us and went to nationals, and she is now a national champion. So that's my story. I'm loving staying in the game, and I'm loving sharing my knowledge about competitive shooting with others.
That was amazing, Denise. Thank you. So before we get to Lee with her, her warrior perspective and kind of how she used Camp Valor Outdoors to get where she's done, Dan, you want to give us a little bit of background about who you are, how you got involved, and all that?
Sure. I started out in the Marine Corps, and I made it to the Marine Corps shooting team in 2000, and that was my first year of competition. So it was kind of new to me, learning about competitive shooting, and I liked it and had a good time with it. And I shot competitively from 2000 to 2003, and then I did my couple deployments and ended up coming back to teams from 2006 to 7 and 8, and then I still competed. I wasn't with teams anymore, but I still competed on my own time until I got out of the Marine Corps in 2011. And I worked with the State Department as a firearms instructor, and I felt like there was something missing. I wanted to keep competing, and I had heard a talk with John about his program, and he told me about it. And one thing I've noticed was there was no competitive shooting. So like John had said, I asked him about it, and he said he just didn't have the time. Well, I did. So I volunteered my time to take the competition in arms program and run with it. And so I did. And, what I was looking for at first was to grab a couple experienced shooters who had been around for a while, such as Denise and Dwayne Lewis. And so I kind of recruited those guys so they could help me build a team of newer competitors. Those veterans who never had the opportunity to compete, during their military career, but were actively seeking. And Lee being one of those, we opened it up. And then when I was starting to coach for the Air Force's air rifle program, I saw a lot of potential in a lot of the athletes there. And so we brought on about 5 or 6 athletes, and throughout the years, they've really been successful. Some of them have gone their ways in other directions and are succeeding in other parts of their life. Lee not being able to compete in the last couple of years because she's had other opportunities, and so that's kind of what the program is about, is helping these athletes, helping these warriors achieve something, and move on, it basically being used as a building block to move on to other things in life that they want to achieve. And the competition arts program is designed specifically that we can work with them and help them establish that right mental training. Competitive shooting, it's somewhat easy to a certain extent, but it's also very difficult in other aspects. It's very, very mental, and you got to be able to develop the right mental program. And that's where we step in and help our athletes and our shooters develop the right mental mindset, so they can take that same concept, that same mental program off of the firing line and integrate that in their other day-to-day lives, other activities that they're involved in.
That sounds awesome. So, it sounds like you guys have an amazing foundation. You guys have the best intentions. But Lee, can you give us your perspective as a warrior, as a female warrior going through the program? Can you kind of tell us if all of the intention transitions over to the benefits that you guys get from the program?
So, yeah, the first thing, just as a warrior in general, I feel like I was extremely lucky to get to Warrior Games. It is a very special bond that's created with those of us that get to go, and an experience that is hard to recreate or can never be recreated with those of us that get to go. Having done that, I think anybody who's ever been there or had that experience, there's a big letdown after you have that, and then there's a hole to feel. Then there's a whole other group of warriors who don't get that experience, and I think that's where Camp Valor Outdoors has this huge gap, and they filled that gap because they can bring together those of us that have either a letdown, or the larger group of us that haven't gotten there and haven't had that experience of Warrior Games, because there's all sorts of things that are involved to not making just those few of us. It doesn't mean that we didn't train. It doesn't mean that our injury or illness isn't as important as anybody else's. There's just so many factors that involved. Being a female didn't make as big of a difference to me as being a total beginner at a sport that I had an opportunity to pursue after my injury. And so it was something else that I had, I think like Coach Dan said, it was another something that I could learn to focus on. And it's a whole part of the rehabilitation process and reforming like this new normal. And it takes your mind off all the other issues that you may or may not be happening to you, that you keep circling in your mind, and you learn this mental focus and what you can do along with your new normal. So it gives you a whole different perspective. And I will definitely say the opportunities that I have now that need that mental focus that I probably didn't have before my injury. You're all in your little box, and you're happy, and you're moving forward. And now then something happens and you start all over again. And some of the things that I've learned going through that process with Camp Valor really has helped me be better for going through that process. So.
Thank you for giving your perspective on that. How did Camp Valor play a role into your national title and where you are today?
I think it's kind of already been said that, like, they took me as I was really a new shooter. I had very little experience shooting before, probably just the air rifle that I'd done at the AFW2 camps, really. Probably shot a light rifle, like maybe a Girl Scout camp or something, and just taught me, started with the basics and then taught me to clean the guns after, like just start from the basics, how to handle it, safety, shooting, standing, the mental focus, and was I good at the beginning? No, but just taking it step by step and then coming back and moving forward, and then got me on that 2017 team. So it was Camp Valor Outdoors and all of us like working together. And that is that whole part of being part of a team again with your other veterans that really makes that all work, and it's part of that recovery and feeling good again.
Absolutely. So there's support and then the whole journey. That's
Yeah,
awesome to
absolutely.
hear. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So Denise, a couple minutes ago, you mentioned you have coaches in 20 states and you're all across the nation. Can you talk about that program and your coaches across the nation and stuff like that?
Sure. We developed a team of coach competitors based on their previous service on the service team. So we've got pretty much all services represented: Navy, Army, Marine Corps, Air Force, and they are spread all out. We've got some in California, Florida, Texas, here in Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina. So we are truly spread out all over the United States, and they volunteered. They stepped forward when they heard about the program. John or Dan, somebody explained to them how it works, what we're doing, and they jumped on board. And as John mentioned, there's no payroll. These folks actually do it for the love of the sport and for the love of helping out their fellow vets. Many of us, I mean, it's not like you can point to anybody and say, well, that vet is making it. No, we all go through times when we don't feel like we're making it, and we all need a hand, or need a shoulder to cry on, or need somebody to inspire us or cheer us on. And that's what we do for these vets. And these folks just stepped up. They had the skill set. Dan was very specific about what he wanted and expected out of a coach. We need experienced national level coaches, because when we pair up with somebody who's new, we need to be able to spot, any kind of safety issues. We need to keep them safe. We need to keep everyone on the firing line safe. And we also need to keep reminding them of the fundamentals. It's a lot more fun to shoot when you're hitting in the middle than it is if you're hitting out in the white. So our coach competitors are real professional shooters, and they can get somebody in the center of the target. Makes it so much more fun for everyone. Makes it very satisfying for the coach that you've coached somebody into their personal best score, or you've coached somebody like Lee to a national championship. And they get a good experience out of it, because they're not just floundering around, shooting on the range, not hitting anything and getting frustrated with it. You're right there by them. You're reminding them of the fundamentals. They get a great experience, and the coach does too.
That's amazing. So John, are there certain criteria you have to meet in order to be part of Camp Valor Outdoors? Can you kind of give us an idea what that looks like?
Yeah, that's a good question, Bobby. So we had to kind of make a decision when we were forming our organization, who is going to be our target audience. There's a limited amount of resources. So from my experience with the Wounded Warrior program in DOD, why not just kind of follow that model? Wounded, ill, or injured. So those veterans who are having the most issues are wounded, ill, and injured, typically in some capacity. And so that's the requirement. But we also opened it up to any generation. So we've had World War II veterans out here on a fishing deal or a turkey hunt, and of course, Vietnam, Korean War guys. We've had every, Somalia, Iraq, Afghanistan, all around our campfire. And at the end of the day, there's no difference in that 94-year-old World War II veteran and that 22-year-old veteran. It's just, different conflict, different age, but they were no different than us. And so to have those type of warriors sharing their experiences on how they came back from their illnesses and injuries from deployments, and they had issues, but they have found happiness. They endured. They stayed. Continued to work on it, and so they're all an inspiration for us. So any generation of veteran, you need to have served honorably, and you need to be wounded, ill, or injured. So 90% of that includes a VA rating, because that would be service connected or combat wounds. but you could have served honorably, been a Vietnam vet, not even in the VA, and but you had a heart attack or a stroke. So you've had that illness that you dealt with, or you could have been injured in a car accident or motorcycle accident, but because you served honorably and you could benefit by being reconnected in the outdoors in one of our programs, then you are therefore eligible. And
Absolutely, that's amazing. I know so many organizations nowadays, they have small budgets that, so they have to constrain the population that they serve, right? So it's amazing that you guys are able to serve, all our veterans that are out there serving.
didn't want to limit it to 9/11 only. We wanted to open it up. And just to comment more on what Denise was explaining on our instructors, at the end of the day, they're mentors. Someone like Lee, who did not have much experience, but she had the desire. We're not looking for those veterans who, was a small bore national champion in the high school FFA program. The one thing that every warrior has in common is pulling the trigger. And so the shooting sports is very popular in all of our programs. And so it's all about desire for us. If you want to, get into something, then we're going to partner another warrior with you who's going to be a mentor, a coach, a sponsor, and be by your side. So we're trying to create that battle buddy space, that we oftentimes lose when we get off active duty.
Absolutely. So we've been talking a lot about the competitive shooting, but Camp Valor Outdoors, that you guys offer other programs and other experiences, right? Talk a bit about those.
We do. So we started out in the outdoors with hunting and fishing and, archery and recreational shooting, just to get in the outdoors. And it's now grown. We launched a honeybee program 3 years ago. I had a warrior that been doing honeybee with PTSD for 5 years. He came to a hunting event, he came to a fishing event, and he asked, have we ever thought about a honeybee program? I had no idea. Didn't know anything about it, and he kind of challenged me. Well, go check it out, go do some research on it, and I did, and it's huge. It's very prominent out there. There's a lot of therapeutic attributes for PTSD with honeybees. So we started that. It's now in 3 states. We're in our 3rd year with the honeybee program. So we have guys that like to woodwork. They make the hives, and then we have the honeybee guys that want to harvest the hives, harvest the honey, and build a apiary of hives, and then they'll get their own hives. So you come to a 2-day class that we bring you out, we give you the knowledge free, and then we give you the hives, we give you the bees, and then we mentor you, partner you with the mentor to help you with that program. Last year, we we're headquartered here in Missouri, and in the county that we're at, we found out that there was 30 homeless veterans relocated. The state relocated them to other counties, 3, 4, 5, 6 counties away. So long story short, we started building tiny homes for homeless veterans. So we get these warriors back connected. Guess what? We're swinging a hammer. We're putting the wood up. We're doing it ourselves, and we're going to rehabilitate these veterans, get them off the street, and try to get them surrounded with some fellow veterans and get them the help and care that they need, and try to make them, a happy veteran so they can get going with their life. We say the outdoors, we've taken 15 warriors to see the Kansas City Chiefs. We've had 25 warriors in St. Louis going to the St. Louis Cardinals baseball game, and warriors throwing out the first pitch. We've done some dove hunting events. We've done some big catfishing events. It's really, what might you be interested in? If you've never done it, then come give it a shot. You might find out that, hey, hunting's not my gig. Maybe I'll try fishing, or let me try archery, so whatever. We want to expose you to that. This year, we're launching a camping program. And so right now we're starting to develop mentors or state leaders, if you will, for each state that we operate in. And we're going to go camping at a state campground. Bring your family out. Then we're going to tag each warrior to do something educational. You're going to show everybody what type of traps and snares for animals in this area. These are the plants that are edible. These are the ones that are not. And we want to grow that into a quarterly program where we bring surrounding states regionally, maybe go to a national park And if you want to go hike for, in the mountains for a couple of hours, that's what you'd like to do. Okay, then you guys go ahead. When you come back, we're gonna do some educational hip pocket classes that we often do. And so we can educate everybody, have a little fun with it, teach, get our kids involved, and then sit around a campfire and break bread and, work on that camaraderie piece. So that was all warrior led, warrior initiated. And it's like, okay, what are we going to do to make it happen? So we're rolling that out this year.
That's impressive. You guys have a lot of different from bees to competitive shooting, but the one consistent theme is warriors serving warriors, right? Taking care of your brothers and sisters and making sure that that their life is better and they're okay, right? So I definitely love all those different programs.
Yeah.
So they must be expensive. So what does it cost for a veteran to take part in competitive shooting or to go camping? What kind of prices does the warrior have to bear?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we fundraise like all nonprofits. You come to a fishing event or a hunting event, or honeybees, we try to absorb all of that cost. With travel included, your hotel stays. The shooting sports is more of a program. That's not a one and done. We try to get you plugged into the local level, provide you the gear that you're going to need so that, that stuff is free. But if your desire is to grow in the shooting sports and go to a regional or a national event, then we'll provide, that lodging and match fees and some of the food. So some of that you'll have to get there on your own. Most people don't want to travel with firearms anyway, via the airline. So they drive themselves there, but we'll cover the lodging, and the match fees are fairly expensive. And because of our partners, we also get great CVO discounts on a lot of the gear that we use. So a lot of these warriors will want to have their own gear. They don't want it checked out anymore. They want it so they can, use it all the time. So it's like 50% discount we're able to get on a lot of this gear. The honeybee program, the fishing and the hunting stuff, that very well may be you only come one time, connect with those warriors, and you're good to go. May not come to another event. So those type of events, those are free for all warriors participating. The warriors in AFW2, they're familiar with the shooting sports, that air rifle, air pistol, the Olympic, Paralympic shooting program. Our shooting sports are shooting military guns, the AR-15s, AR-10s, the service pistols. We're even shooting old vintage rifles, the M1A, the M1 Garand, the 03A3. We shoot a 1903 A4 sniper rifle match. Those have become, very popular in the United States, breaking out these old military guns and shooting 200 yards, prone and standing. And so it's fun, and the familiarity is obviously there when you're grabbing an AR-15. I mean, the platform's just like we had on active duty. We do have a little air rifle and air pistol program for those who want to continue on that side of it. We do offer some of that. We do some 22 small bore stuff. So the shooting sports is wide and broad, including even shotgun. And so we have some guys that shooting shotgun as well. It's not a national program that we have, but we do it here at the camp. We've got some skeet and trap throwers, and so we play in that realm as well. So it's again, the camaraderie and getting together and trying to find what's that warrior is interested in. How can we provide a pathway for them to pursue whatever they'd like to pursue, going to the nationals if that's the case.
Absolutely. Yeah, John, thank you. That's an important distinction. A lot of our audience is probably thinking air rifle, air pistol. So I'm glad you brought that up so everyone's clear on exactly what we're talking about here. So Lee, can you say we have some young warriors watching this. Can you let them know what it's like to be part of the program, or any challenges they might have, or how they should go about getting involved?
Like anything, I always tell warriors that I'm mentoring or people that I meet, AFW2 is really the starting ground, right? It's the transition. And it seems difficult at first, but you really have to get involved in community programs. And I personally found, and I think a lot of people do best when you get outside, fresh air, being around other vets, it's healing. give it a try and fill out the application. And we just heard from John how varied Camp Valor is. I loved the shooting program. It did a lot for me. If shooting's something you want to do, absolutely try it. If it's not your gig, try something else. You know, listen to what he just had to say. You just have to take that leap. And so that's what I would say. You just have to take that leap. The safety of AFW2 sometime has to go. And that, you know, that's what we're doing here is we're introducing you to different things, and you've got to give it a try.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I know we've covered a lot of different topics today. Have I missed anything that you guys think is important for our audience to know about Camp Valor Outdoors?
Well, we do have a website. It's campvalorouttdoors.org. There is a Camp Valor, but that is not us. So you got to make sure you add the outdoors to it. We're huge on social media. All of our events are posted on our Facebook page. Denise runs our Twitter and Instagram page. So we're out there. And it's like Lee said, you know, don't be scared to jump in and try something new, because the common denominator is everybody's still wounded, ill, or injured. That's still our family. And so, you know, and as a warrior, there's warriors who are doing better than others. There are warriors who have struggled and they have found a better way and a better path. And so when we get everybody together, we start to share those different avenues and opportunities. And so the brotherhood, if you will, of the battle buddy, when we bring everybody together, there's no judging, and we're all the same. And so we just want to share resources and, you know, try to make every warrior a better person and help them on their journey. You know, today you're needing help, tomorrow you're mentoring someone. So It's a give and take kind of thing.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed today's Zoom with all of our guests from Camp Valor Outdoors. You can find them on Facebook. You can follow them on their website, or you can connect with AFW2 Community Programs, and we will put you in contact with that. If there's any questions, please let us know, and we will get you guys connected. Have a great day.